The word in ancient Iranian dialects, it occurs in two different dialects. First, in Old Persian, where we have para daiza. Now, para is a prefix that means around, like peri in Greek or English or many other languages. Daiza means a wall, and it comes from a verb meaning to mound up earth, stamped earth, to form a wall. And so a paradisa is an encircling wall around some space that is removed from normal existence. The same term, with a slight dialectal variation, occurs in Avestan. Avestan is, there are two ancient Iranian languages that have survived. Old Persian comes from the Achaemenid dynasty. It's the language in which the inscriptions of the Achaemenid kings were written, and it's a Western Iranian dialect that we have attested from the 6th century before Christ onward. Avestan is an Eastern Iranian dialect that is attested from, it's harder to date, but probably 1000 BC or even a bit earlier onward. And this is the language in which the most ancient Zoroastrian sacred scriptures are written. And the same word, more or less, minor variations, an encircling wall and a different space inside is carved out. Now, what's striking is that in Avestan, the space inside this encircling wall contrasts with the rest of existence as being the worst possible kind of existence. It is the driest, hottest, most unpleasant, life-denying space imaginable. And within this space, the most polluted, corrupt, dangerous human beings are confined for the duration of their lives. Specifically, these are people who have been defiled by carrying corpses and are thus contaminated by death and pose the danger of bringing death to everyone else. And so the most antithetical to death people are put in the most antithetical to death space, which is carved out from the rest of normal existence by a surrounding wall. The Old Persian use of the term is precisely the opposite. The wall here surrounds a space that is the most life-sustaining, the moistest, most pleasant, most conducive to the flourishing of plants, animals, and humans, in contrast to normal surrounding space, which is contaminated by death and gets dirty, and people there get sick and have troubles of one sort and another. And so what both Avestan and Old Persian agree upon is that there is a wall that marks off a dramatically different domain that is in antithetical contrast to normal existence. One makes it perfect in contrast to the imperfections of normal life. The other makes it much worse, much closer to absolute destructive possibilities in contrast to the normal life-sustaining possibilities of everyday existence. It's the Old Persian, the Achaemenid model, that is disseminated throughout all of antiquity. The Avestan model remains isolated. It has no further influence of which I'm aware. But the gardens that the Achaemenid kings built, following this model of constructing a wall inside of which they would do everything possible to make life as perfect as possible, inspired wonder and amazement and much discussion among all the other peoples of the empire and beyond, who one by one adopted that same word to describe something of which they had no experience, no imagination, and no vocabulary within their own world. And the Babylonians, the Assyrians, the Hebrews, the Elamites, who else? the Greeks, the Romans, all used the same word, paradisa, adapted to the phonology of their own languages. And it then penetrates most of Asia and Europe in centuries following.